Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Anthony Joshua and Jarrell Miller, they got into it in a major way at the launch of Dazn USA in New York. So what I'll do is I'll get straight into the highlights of that, and then followed by highlights of the event in general. And then into some thoughts, because the confrontation, it's well worth talking about for several reasons, as is the broader event, which I actually thought fell a little bit flat in terms of announcements. But more on that soon. Buckle in. Let's go.
Come here running your mouth. Come here running your fucking mouth. Come here running your mouth. You're late, no respect.
Need security. Hey, boys will be boys, right? Hey, James. Boys will be boys. I know, that's how it works.
Every minute. Shut the fuck up and get off the stage. Little bitch. Little bitch. Still talking shit.
Do we get start up there?
Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
When they get up, I go on, right? That's how it works?
Yeah.
Take instructions, shut your mouth. Take instructions, shut your mouth. Fucking weightlifting. You shut up, I'll slap you as well. I'll slap you as well. I'll slap you as well. Shut your.
From the start, we have 70 live events, live fight sport events scheduled or contracted on the service. 55 of those are exclusively live on Dazn. That means on average, we get one amazing fight night every single week of the year. And for that reason alone, I think we're an absolute must-have for all fight fans here in the US. So we're launching on September the 10th. We're launching at $9.99 per month. There won't be any annual subscriptions, it's simply $9.99 a month.
Thank you, Eddie. Well, I'm very excited to be here, to be present. Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to this great project. I'm looking forward to giving you a show, headlining some of the greatest fights of the year. And you will get just that, some of the greatest fights of the year. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your support. And enjoy the show.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to be involved with this new and most exciting Dazn platform. Women's boxing is on fire at the moment, and it's such a privilege to be given this opportunity. Delighted to be fighting Cindy Serrano on October the 6th. Obviously, my sights are firmly set on my fight next week, but I've no doubt that the fight against Cindy will be an exciting one, a fight that I love to be involved in, and I'm delighted to be given this opportunity. And yeah, thank you so much.
I'm delighted to agree a multi-fight deal with Yvonne Michelle and Artur Beterbiev, the 175-pound IBF world champion, will defending his title against England's Callum Johnson on the card as well. And a big heavyweight who is always, always late. And he's late again today. And it's not Anthony Joshua. It's big baby Jarrell Miller, straight out of New York and Brooklyn. He'll be here shortly. Maybe he's running from Anthony Joshua. I don't know. He doesn't want to turn up in here. But you know, we'll see. Please don't tell him I said that when he arrives. Okay, it's good, it's good.
Yeah. It's a proud moment. It's a proud moment, you know? I'm ready to take over. I'm ready to do what I have to do.
Thank you for everyone for turning out. Unbelievable fighters here on the stage. One of them that I'll be competing with in about 11 weeks. Dazn, an unbelievable broadcasting channel to be a part of. Breaking boundaries. It's a new era for broadcasting. And everything we do is always refreshing and new. So it was only right that we be part of this. And shout out to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom for making this opportunity possible. So thank you very much.
Okay, we got a couple of fanboys down here. Don't worry, you'll get your chance to talk to the big man. In fact, there's more people here than there was at Deontay Wilder's last fight, so don't worry about that. We'll be fine.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in here. I'll just start with this confrontation between Miller and Joshua. It looked like a very staged stunt. Jarrell Miller, close to Joshua on the stage, a pretender to the throne, launches in, trying to start something with Anthony Joshua. If I'm honest though, I actually thought that little fracas, it made the event so much more interesting. But the reality is, Jarrell Miller is trying to continue to build his name and build it off Anthony Joshua's. He's trying to spark a rivalry, trying to get a fight with him. And until now, he's been peddling beef online. It's been limited to social media, and it really hasn't hit the mark. I mean, even now, after this episode, I'm not really that interested in seeing Miller and Joshua fight. I actually need to see more from Miller. See him beat an opponent that's still got a pulse, that's not a fading contender on the slide. But on social media after the event, so Miller said, "I know this boy got too much sugar in his tank. I'm going to turn you to Kool-Aid. You sweet and low English muffin. I smell pussy." At Trouble Brazil, at Charles Martin, and at Bronze Bomber ain't about that life. But I am, boy. Take that thong of that Eddie Hearn bout. I'm going to f*** you F. Okay, so that was Jarrell Miller, his statement on social media in a tweet. And there was something about that that sounded more like he wanted a date rather than a fight. But, I'll leave that where it is. But Miller being a DAZN fighter now, it will certainly make it easier for Eddie Hearn to make a fight with Anthony Joshua. And let's face it, if a Deontay Wilder fight can't be made, and Dillian Whyte, who could be the next cab off the rank, if he lost to Joseph Parker later this month, then Miller could be a potential backup option to face the Brit in April at Wembley. And that is, of course, should Joshua get past Alexander Povetkin in September. But I've been saying for a while, Miller, he needs more than just his mouth and stunts like this one to actually advance his claims for a title shot with Joshua. So let's hope his next fight is against someone decent. Although I've got to say, I'm not holding my breath. I'm actually expecting him to take on someone in the WBA top 15, like a BJ Flores or a Trevor Bryan. Essentially another fight that really doesn't tell us much about who he is, or that makes us believe in Jarrell Miller. As for the aggressive response from Joshua to Miller's antics, I was a little surprised at how colourful the language was, but I wasn't surprised that he engaged with Miller. That wasn't surprising at all. And you might recall the heated exchange he had with Dominic Breazeale a couple of years ago, although the language there wasn't quite as colourful. And given Joshua is usually so squeaky clean in public, I'm sure some fans are going to be lapping this up, either if they're supporters or if they're detractors. But I'm not sure his sponsors will be loving that, though. Some of that language, that doesn't quite gel with the corporate image that a lot of his sponsors, they like to push things in a certain way to the public. But thoughts on the launch in general. I didn't cover all the names earlier, but I did get to the sort of top few. And what we have is Demetrius Andrade, Jesse Vargas, Katie Taylor, and Jarrell Miller. And also there was Artur Beterbiev that was announced. In my book, it's okay. I was expecting that we might see a marquee name, at least one marquee name. But instead we've got a sprinkling of pretty good names. None of the guys that I just mentioned. And I'd hazard to, guess that they wouldn't be able to sell out a decent sized venue on the strength of their own name alone. So Eddie Hearn and DAZN, they've got more work to do in terms of their recruitment efforts. As DAZN Chief Executive said, they've got a screed of boxing shows that they need to be filling up from September. They've got a lot of fight nights coming up. And they're going to need some good names to help bring the punters in and obviously attract people to the platform. It was made official, though, that the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Povetkin fight will be broadcast exclusively in the US on the DAZN platform on September 22nd. And that will be a shot in the arm for the streaming service. It's going to help. But we need to be clear, Joshua and Povetkin, they aren't signed to DAZN. It's their UK-based fight which is being broadcast on the service. But in terms of DAZN, $9.99 a month in the US, that feels like a pretty decent price point given the amount of content, which is going to include the DAZN boxing shows, MMA, and also the World Boxing Super Series. And we also heard legendary ring announcer Michael Buffer, he will also be on DAZN. He signed to a multi-year deal to be the permanent ring announcer. And I'm sure he won't be coming cheap. All in all, I do like the Dazn concept. There's going to be a boatload of fights, and the price point for the US is going to be $10 a month. That's pretty good. But there is the nagging thing on my mind. Can Eddie Hearn, can Dazn and Perform Group, which owns it, can they land enough big names to really get some critical mass behind this platform? Can they get enough fans on board to make it viable in the long run? Gotta say, I was a little bit underwhelmed with this launch event. There's some good names, but maybe not a couple of marquee names that they really do need. Still early days though, so we shall see. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.